Cubes are actually really easy to color. You just want to make sure that you have 3 different overall colors. So you have color 1, color 2, color 3. Or like on this side there's color 1, color 2, color 3. So I want to make sure that you have that in mind because it will really help your overall cube look more 3D. So we're going to have our light source coming here from the side, kind of showing on the front of the box, but that top corner. So let me zoom in here. So since we have the light showing on the front of the box here, we're just going to use our lightest color. In my case, I'm using B12 and just fill in just 1 coat over the entire front. And you're going to want your shadow to be opposing where your light source is coming. So we're just going to draw the shadow down here. I think it's easier to draw the shadow and then fill any spots in. So I've gone back to my color 1, and I'm just going to kind of go over that line to blend it out a little bit, and then kind of blend it throughout. Now I want to keep that corner pretty light, so by flicking from the corner, you keep the corner pretty light. That makes it a little bit, I don't know, makes the gradient easier. Now from the top, we're going to use that same lightest color again, but we're going to go ahead and darken that whole back half. So I'm just going to cut the box in half, fill that in with my B14, and then go back with my B12 to blend everything together. And I'm going to go over the whole thing because I want that top box to be a darker value than the front. So I'm just going to layer that to get it to blend. Now this back side of the box is not going to have any light showing on it at all because the light's coming from that front side. So like if, look on this stamp block here, see how it's totally in a shadow? So that's what we're going to do again. We're going to go ahead and fill that all in. I'm very sorry that my hair got in the way of the camera, but I'm just putting 1 layer down. Now since I'm using my darkest blue value, it's hard to darken it. So I'm going to use a gray. This is N6, but a C6 or even a 5 would have worked too. So I'm just adding that in there and then going back in with the B16 to
Here
shade
is
on
our
top. Cube image. I'm going to start with my G21, and this is going to be the lightest part of the box here. See, the cube is just at an angle, but this will be our lightest part. I'm going to take G21 and I'm going to leave a little bit of that white space just to help make sure that that front of the box stays lightest. With G24 now, I'm going to add in my shadow. So I'm pretty much, since the light's coming directly on that front, the shadows will be pretty even. So I'm just pretty much outlining each separate image. And I'm just going back with G21, filling it in, starting of course on that shadow and then filling it in so that way I don't have too many layers of color over that white space. Now we're going to do the top of the box. I'm taking G21 again and just kind of only doing the front half. So I'm just going to do these 2 spots towards the front since there is some light there. Then I'm going to take my G24 and shadow just the back half of that. But I'm going to fill it in a little bit more than just outlining, about halfway through, because I do want that value to be darker than the front of the box. And I'll go back with G21 to kind of shade it in, which will also darken it a little bit. Now the back half of the box, I'm just going to fill in there with G24. Now this is a little trick. I'm going to do tip to tip blending. You take the chisel tip side of your darker color and then take the light marker's brush tip side and just drag some color off of that darker marker. This is really useful to kind of stretch your colors. Okay, I'm going to fill in this side of the box now with my G24. Fill that front part in entirely, and then take my G28. And again, I'm going to do some shading, but it's going to go pretty far in because I do want this value of this side to be darkest. This is the side that is most in the shadow. So I'll do the lid of the box as well. And then go back over it with my G24 to blend it all out. the back half of the box, I'm just going to take G28 and fill it in. Now we're going to go to the lid of the box. I'm going to take R24 and I'm going to flick out just like when I do hair, flick from the bottom and flick from the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and just fill in the underside of the ribbon entirely. I'm going to take my darker red color next, which is R27, and I'm going to flick a little bit again, but just not quite as far, and I will definitely flick on the underside of the ribbon to have it darken up a little bit. And I'm going to repeat that process on this other loop here, filling in the bottom side of the ribbon with the R24, and then I'll go ahead and I'll flick on the top. Just kind of flick down, flick up a little bit, and going in with my darker color, which is R27. If you don't like R27, if it's too close in value, you can skip up to R29 for this if you want. And then going back to R24, I'm just going to blend over that light spot. This will kind of help give the ribbon a kind of a satin finish. Now here I'm going to flick away from the knot and then up from where the tail is, and then draw that line right there where it goes over the bend of the box. Add in some shadow colors with my R27, and then go back over that whole section with the R24. Now the side of the box, I'm just going to fill that in entirely. Those little spaces, there's not really enough space to do much shading. Now this back part of the box, of course, it's a little bit further away from the light, so we're going to go ahead and just darken that entirely. And this side of the box that is the darkest of the three sides, we're just filling that in with our medium shade, and I'm going to take R29 to darken that up. So I'm going to flick down from where the bottom of the lid would have been, and then a little bit on the top as well, just to kind of help make that side of the box look a little bit more 3D. Then I'm going to go back with my R27 to blend. And now the knot. Just a little space, but I did leave part of it white that would have caught the light right there from the front, adding a little bit of shadow just around the outsides, and then going back with my first color to blend it all in. Now we have the monster's tail. This really has nothing to do with cubes, but I didn't want to leave you with nothing. So I'm just going to fill it in with my lightest blue color. Just a quick coat over the whole thing. My camera is in speed mode because this is kind of boring to watch. So we're just going through. Now going in with my medium color, which is B14. I'm going to go ahead and shadow down around and underneath the tail, and where it was coming out of the box, of course, you saw. And then I also want to get any of the little wrinkles in his tail from where it's bending. So we're going to get those wrinkles and whatnot. And there's little dots and stuff that the artist draws in. If you go ahead and just kind of dot the darker marker over those, you'll notice when you add in the color 1 again to blend, it just really gives the tail a lot of texture. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just going to blend it out. I'm going to warn you, my head is totally in the way. But I'm just going over to blend the whole thing. And then I'm going in with my darkest color here and just kind of filling in his spots. So you can just color over those spots the first time, but I'm just filling them in now. I'm just filling in his tail real quick. Now this step is really important in getting a lot of depth in your images. I'm just taking the darkest color and adding some extra marker lines to wherever I really want, wherever would be darkest from shadow. So, you know, underneath the lid, downside of his tail, you know, the knot by the ribbon. Doing this really gives your image that extra popping out of the page because of the extra dimension.